Hi, and thanks for tuning in to learn a little bit more about mental performance training and how you can use it to achieve new levels of success and enjoyment in your sport. My name is Amanda Leibovitz, and I am a certified mental performance consultant. Over the years, I have had the chance to work with a broad range of athletes, exercisers, and performers of all ages, ability levels, and competitive goals, and in both individual and team sports. And the thing that I love most about sport and exercise psychology and about mental performance training in general is that we're really developing a core set of skills and strategies that can be applied across a number of different contexts and situations, whether it be in your sport or in academia, in the workplace, or even in your interpersonal relationships with other people. But the thing that we really want to remember about performance psychology and about mental training is that the end goal is always improved self-regulation and self-management. So whether our goals are to improve self-confidence, to incorporate more beneficial self-talk or positive imagery into our internal dialogue, or if we're trying to manage emotions and anxiety a little bit better, we really need to be able to pay attention to our thoughts, feelings, and body sensations, and to do so without judgment so that we're able to use this information to benefit us and move us closer to our goals rather than reacting to something kind of on autopilot and moving us and having that move us further away from our goals. And so what I just described, this non-judgmental awareness of our thoughts, feelings, and body sensations in the present moment, is the concept of mindfulness, which is the topic of our talk today. So I'm going to spend a few moments to kind of defining mindfulness and explaining why it's important for athletes in a little bit more detail. And then I'm going to leave you with a home practice that you can start to use to develop your mindfulness muscle in training and in your life as you prepare for future challenges and competitions.
Let's start with a definition of mindfulness, which is the practice of paying attention on purpose to the present moment without judgment. In order to practice mindfulness effectively, we must be willing to pay attention to our thoughts, feelings, and body sensations. And it's the practice of paying attention to our internal environment that allows us to shift from living on autopilot to becoming fully engaged in our life and experiences. Mindfulness practice teaches us some really important lessons. First, it shows us that we can change our experience just by changing the way we pay attention to it. It gives us a whole new range of options for relating differently to unpleasant emotions and body sensations too. Next, mindfulness helps us notice things we might otherwise miss. And with this knowledge, we might be able to spot early warning signs of fatigue, injury, or anxiety that may have bigger consequences for our performance or our day-to-day lives. Finally, when we are on automatic pilot, our thinking can take us to places we might not choose to go that can be really harmful to our performance in training and competition, as well as our general health and well-being. With mindfulness training, we learn to develop the awareness and skills to be able to choose to come back to the present moment by deliberately focusing our attention on our sensory experiences. There are many benefits of mindfulness training, and I've listed a few of the top ones here for you. Most importantly, mindfulness training helps us to reorganize our brain structure, and specifically, mindfulness has been associated with a thickening of the brain regions that are associated with learning and memory, sense of self, emotion regulation, and perspective taking. Some other important benefits include reducing the effects of stress and improving stress recovery, the ability to return to physical baselines like heart rate and breath rate more quickly after activity, enhanced emotion regulation, improved focus and concentration, developing better stress management skills, promoting overall health and wellness, effectively maintaining a sport-life balance, and learning how to communicate more effectively with the people who are most important in your life. Body awareness is one of the foundational skills of mindfulness training, and it involves the sensations that we experience in our bodies. The funny thing about these sensations is that they are all neutral until we ascribe some sort of value to them, or in other words, until we judge them in some way. Two athletes can be feeling the same butterflies before a competition, and one athlete might interpret this as a sign of excitement and being ready to go. Another athlete might be interpreting those same butterflies as nerves and a sign that they are unprepared or undertrained. Similarly, two athletes might be feeling the same deep muscle burn and heaviness at the start of the last lap of their 1-mile track race. The first athlete might interpret this as a sign that they pushed too hard during the earlier laps and would need to pull back to avoid bonking. The second athlete might interpret this same muscle fatigue as a sign that they are exactly where they need to be in order to perform their best, and so they're going to keep charging forward. Mindfulness of body sensations in training and competition then can help us better discern between the discomfort of hard work and the pain of injury so that we can make better decisions that align with our performance goals. Similarly, being able to explore uncomfortable or unpleasant sensations without judging them will allow us to relate to our bodies in new ways, again, permitting us to make decisions that align with our values and goals. Now that we know our interpretation of what we're feeling can influence our experiences themselves, we can talk more about thought awareness, which involves tuning in to our own thoughts, and particularly the stories we're making up about what is going on around us. By this, I mean that without all of the information, our minds will naturally try to fill the gaps with what we have experienced in the past, or with our best guess about what might happen in the future. Mental time travel is also something that happens when we are on autopilot, and it can be really detrimental to performance. If you have ever found yourself stuck thinking about a missed putt on the third hole, even though you're already halfway through the back nine, or replaying a botched flip turn that cost valuable time during a swim race, even though the event was a week ago, you've done some mental time travel to the past. Similarly, if you have ever found yourself making projections or predictions about how a cycling race will end based on the first loop of the course when there's still half the race to go, or if you've been so worried about a shooting competition that's a month away that it's hard to focus your attention or steady your hands during practice, you've hopped into the DeLorean and traveled back to the future. Now, not all mental time travel is bad. When we do this on purpose, we can learn from the past and make goals for the future. The trick here is that we are intentionally visiting the past for a short period of time to learn or set a course, and then intentionally returning to the present moment, since that is the only aspect of our lives over which we have any real influence or control. The third component of mindfulness is emotion awareness, or being willing to tune into and actually experience what we are feeling. We all have emotions, even though we might not want to talk about them. They're a part of being human, and they help us communicate with others and adapt to circumstances. For example, a smile communicates happiness to others. In the same way, fear can be useful to feel if it helps us escape a truly dangerous situation. Emotional experiences can be pleasant for some people and distressing for others. As we talked about a couple slides back, anxious feelings can be perceived as exciting or threatening. We feel our emotional experiences in the body and the mind, even though we might not be aware of it. Therefore, to become more mindful, we want to cultivate awareness of feelings just as much as we want to be aware of our thoughts and body sensations, and ride them like waves or energy surges as they come. The more we are able to turn toward and directly experience our emotions, the more likely they are to pass and not take over our whole experience or affect our decision making in a detrimental way. There are many ways to begin practicing mindfulness in your life, and things like a body scan meditation, movement meditation, breathing space, or sitting meditation are all examples of formal practices. We can also practice mindfulness informally by slowing down and paying attention to all of our senses while we're completing everyday activities like eating, brushing our teeth, or washing our face. If you're curious about starting your own home practice, I recommend using a guided mindfulness meditation each day, just like the one we're about to do together, or anything similar you might be able to find on YouTube or the free Insight Timer app. Another very effective alternative is simply practicing mindful breathing, which would mean observing your breath, or breath work, which is more controlled breathing, for 3 minutes at a time, 3 times a day.
And now that we are a little more familiar with the foundations of mindfulness training and the many benefits that it has for our overall quality of life as well as our sport performance, we're going to engage in a short practice to begin to cultivate our ability to pay attention to what's going on in the present moment without judgment. One of the tricks to mindfulness meditation is to let go of the expectation that it's going to be this super zen, super relaxed experience. Instead, I really want you to think about this similar to how you would think about a training session for a physical activity related to your sport. We know at the end that it's going to benefit us in some way, but it's not always comfortable or enjoyable while we're doing it. And so with this in mind, we're able to engage with the unpleasant parts of this experience just as much as we are able to engage with the pleasant aspects of this experience. Similarly, our brains are trained to wander. So we can also let go of the expectation that we are going to have this honed in laser focus for the full duration of the meditation. Instead, we can think of our minds as like small puppies, like they're going to wander away. They're going to chase the butterfly, sniff the grass, eat the poop, and we know that this is going to happen. So when it does, we don't have to be hard on ourselves. We don't have to judge ourselves. We simply want to recognize our mind is not where we want it to be and call our attention back to our breathing. And every single time we do this, every single time we notice our mind has wandered and call it back to the breath, it's like completing a rep at the gym. And as we all know, repetition is how we build new habits and how we get stronger. So if you're feeling particularly scattered or you're feeling like this activity is really difficult because it's hard for you to focus, just remember that you're getting a ton of bonus reps every time you call your mind back to the breathing. So we'll begin and end this meditation with the sound of the bell, and you can simply listen to my voice as I guide you through with a script that will help you focus on your breathing and also cultivate some awareness of thoughts. So put down anything you might be holding, including any thoughts, worries, plans, or images that are in your mind right now. And sit back in your chair with your head, back, and neck straight but not too stiff. With your shoulders relaxed and your hands comfortably placed in your lap. Gently closing your eyes when you feel ready. Now become aware of the breath moving into and out of your body. Just notice it wherever you can feel it in your body. Perhaps the sensations of breath moving past the nostrils. Perhaps the rising and falling of your chest. Perhaps the feeling of your belly expanding gently on each in-breath and deflating on each out-breath. Just feel the breath as it comes in and as it goes out, without trying to control it in any way. Just letting the breath be as it is, trying to maintain awareness of the full breath from the beginning of the in-breath to the end of the out-breath, being fully present and aware of each new breath. As you sit here watching your breath, you may find yourself thinking about something you did or something you need to do. Something that happened to you or something that is going to happen. These are the kinds of thoughts that occur spontaneously in our minds all the time. See if you can notice when a thought arises in the space of your mind. Just becoming aware that you are thinking. Notice the thought without trying to push it away. Just let it go gently on its own, and then direct your attention back to the breath. Focus your attention on the sensations in your abdomen or at the nostrils or the chest. Just paying attention to the actual sensations of breathing. Your mind is like a revolving door with thoughts moving in and thoughts moving out, while you just sit observing them as they come and go, bringing your attention back to the breath. As you sit here, feeling your breath and observing the thoughts that arise in your mind, you may make a very soft mental note about what you notice. As you notice a thought, inwardly say to yourself, just thinking, just remembering, just planning. And then, without giving the thought any more attention, let it go and come back to the sensations of the breath. Reminding yourself that for this period of time, your intention is to be fully present, fully awake, simply watching the breath as it enters and leaves the body, staying awake and alert in each moment until the sound of the bell. Thank you so much for engaging in this practice with me, and I hope that you find it useful as you begin to develop your mindfulness skills in your own life. Until next time, have a wonderful day.